Hey everybody, I wanted to get on here and introduce myself first before I get started. I am Tracie Goodman. I am the Agriculture and Natural Resource Extension Agent for McCreary County Cooperative Extension. A big part of my job as an ag agent, fortunately for me because I really love this topic myself, is to teach people how to grow their own food. So in Extension, we serve everyone regardless of whether you are a backyard enthusiast or if you're a commercial scale farmer. Our job is to provide you with research-based information that you can trust to achieve your goals in growing your own food. No matter what kind of scale you're operating on, whether it is a commercial farm or if you just have a backyard garden, the concept of growing food remains the same. You need a few basics. You need good soil, you need water, you need sunlight, and you need seeds. I'm going to talk about some gardening basics today, which is going to be geared for beginners. But if you're experienced and you just need a refresher, stay tuned and you might learn something new. Okay, so let's get started. I want to talk about first today site selection, soil testing, and what's the basic plan before you get started. So this is just a reminder before we start. Please relax. Don't overthink this. This whole experience is supposed to be fun. Growing your own food is such a fun experience, and it's really rewarding if you let it be. Just relax and stick to the basics, and your first year is going to be a lot more successful. So first, where are we? Your plant hardiness zone is going to tell you what your average minimum temperature is each winter. So for McCreary County, Kentucky, we are in zone 6A, 6B. There are parts of Whitley that are in 6A for whatever reason. So I just included the on average minimum temperatures for zone 6, which is 0 degrees Fahrenheit to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit each winter. And you can find your plant hardiness zone if you're not located in McCreary County by accessing the link below, and you can search by your zip code or you can search by the state. So the purpose of knowing your zone is to choose plants that are known to grow well within that zone. This is going to determine what you can grow well in your area, in your climate. And this information, fortunately, is included on most seed packets, and there are some websites where you can select seeds based on what zone you are in. So where do we put it? You want to select a gardening site that is in full sun for at least 8 hours a day. If you're doing an in-ground garden, you want it to be relatively level, and you want your soil to be well drained, and you want to be close to a water source. Trust me on this, because when it's 90 degrees outside, you don't want to be lugging buckets of water far away from your house to your garden. I've done it and it's not fun. Also, you only want to plan as large a garden as what you can easily maintain. So I really stress this for beginning gardeners especially. It is so easy to overplan and to plant more than you actually need, and then end up with this gigantic garden that you don't want to maintain for the full growing season. So I would start small. I would think about what you or your family wants to eat realistically and what you want to do with your garden, whether you are growing to just eat vegetables as they're ready to be harvested, or if you want to grow enough to preserve for later use. And also, a good tip that I can give is to stagger your plantings so that not everything becomes ripe or ready to harvest at the same time. So say if you want to plant squash, one plant is really prolific and it produces a lot. So if your family say you want to plant 3 squash plants, I would do 1 in the first week, then wait a week, plant the second one, then wait another week and plant the third one, so that you're kind of giving your harvest time to spread out and you're not being hit with it all at once, because truly squash is the best whenever you eat it fresh. And then, like I was saying, just think about what you want to grow in the space that you need to grow it in. So if you have a small space available, obviously you're not going to be able to plant a ton of things. So think about realistically what you want to eat, how much space it's going to take, and go from there. There are so many gardening options that you can customize based on what you want to do. So these are some options for raised bed gardening, which is really popular. for good reason, because it saves your back a lot of pain. The picture on the left is just an unstructured raised bed that has been formed by mounding the soil and shaping it. So these are not contained by any type of barrier. It is just soil piled up to a higher level so that you can easily take care of it. There is a taller option for a raised bed, which I really love because it can not only accommodate someone in a wheelchair. If you are standing, then it will come up to about waist height. So it is really easy to weed and take care of your plants that way. And the bottom option on the right is a series of raised beds. Some of these use wooden beams, and then some of them use cinder blocks. So you can use a lot of different materials to construct your raised beds. This is an option that I'm personally going to use this summer. Probably every parent I know has one of these in their yard that is busted, which is good because you need holes in it anyway for drainage. I bought this for my dogs and they didn't use it, so I'm going to make it a raised bed garden. I plan to probably plant some herbs in that this summer, but we'll just see. And this is a great option for me because at my house, I have a lot of patchy sunlight. So I can't do a traditional in-ground garden at my house or really stationary raised beds. So with this, I'm going to be able to move it around as I want to and move it into areas where it gets the best sunlight. So it's a really cheap and easy option. These are some more options. For container gardening, you can do obviously just traditional flower pots. You can do, they have grow bags now, which are really easy to move around as you need to. Window boxes, I've seen a lot of people have success with raising herbs in window boxes. So there are a lot of options for container gardening. Whatever you are growing, make sure that the container is large enough to accommodate the size of the plant at full maturity. This is your traditional in-ground row garden. So this is typically what I do. This is on my mother-in-law's property because she gets lots of beautiful sunlight. And we do just straight rows. I think I have some potatoes, tomatoes, corn, peppers, all of that in here. Now this is still a great option. You don't necessarily have to do anything fancy, but it is a little bit more work than having a raised bed or something that is more easy to take care of. But this is still going to give you a lot of food. So it really doesn't matter how you decide to do it. Any option is good as long as you have the basic components, as long as you have good soil, you have water, you have sunlight. Speaking of soil, you're going to want to make sure that before you amend your soil in your garden that it isn't too wet. So if you're plowing, you don't want to plow or till when it's very wet because it will clump up and get hard. The picture demonstrates soil that is too wet for planting and soil that is ready to plant, which is moist but not clumped. If it's mud, don't bother tilling it. Wait a little bit until it dries out and then till it up. So what is the definition of good soil? Good soil retains water, but it still drains well after a rain. It stays crumbly and workable without becoming hard and crusted. It has enough minerals for optimum growth and a pH between 6.2 and 6.8 preferably. That's the dream, right? However, few sites available is going to match the ideal in all respects. So the good news is though that soils can be modified. It is a long-term process. Often it takes several years to amend your soil to a good, workable, perfect form. But fortunately, vegetable crops, most of them will tolerate variable soil conditions and still produce fairly well. I can attest to this. I have grown in some kind of poor soil and gotten a decent amount of vegetables out of it. So one of the most important things that you can do first before you even get started is to conduct a soil test. Now, this is a service that we offer at the Extension office. You can contact me or any of your local Extension offices and they will tell you how to do this, what the process is, give you the tools that you need to get this done. So soil tests should be done in early spring or fall. The soil test typically measures soil acidity, which is your pH, your available phosphorus, potassium, and if you request it, calcium, magnesium, and zinc. These results are going to help you determine your fertilizer and your lime requirements. So it's really, really important to do this before you get started planting or doing anything. Get a soil test. I'm going to throw a little bit of information at you. Don't get overwhelmed. It's all going to tie together in just a little bit. There are some essential plant nutrients that your vegetables are going to need to grow in their best form. There are macronutrients and there are micronutrients. So macronutrients are required in relatively large amounts. Micronutrients are required in very small amounts. All of these nutrients listed are going to assist your plant in vegetative growth, in flowering and fruiting, developing a good root system. All of this is going to help you grow what you need to grow and get the most production out of every plant. pH is an extremely important thing to know about your soil. Your pH scale ranges from a 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. If your pH is below 7, your soil is acidic. If your pH is above 7, your soil is alkaline. And your soil test is going to tell you the pH. So the reason that pH is so important is because it directly affects your nutrient uptake. By adjusting pH, we make sure that the plants we grow can use the fertilizers and available nutrients in the soil to their fullest potential. And most vegetables in a garden prefer a pH between 6.2 and 6.8. If your pH falls out of this range, you might need to add lime or sulfur. So if your soil's pH is too low, you'll need to add lime because it is too acidic. You want to raise that pH up. If your pH is too high, you want to add some sulfur because your soil is too alkaline. All of this is a balance. This is where all of it comes together. As you can see by this chart, the pH range between 6 and 7 is where you're getting the most bang for your buck. Your pH directly affects your nutrient uptake and is probably the most important thing that you need to adjust within your soil, because you may have all of these nutrients available already in your soil, but if your pH isn't right, it's not going to be able to grab onto those nutrients in their correct form. After you get your soil test back, typically we make recommendations based on those results and tell you the amount of fertilizer or lime that you need to add to your garden. So you're only going to want to apply fertilizer as recommended based on your soil test results. One, it's going to save you a little bit of money rather than buying an all-in-one fertilizer. Maybe you just need one component. Also, if you over-apply fertilizer, this can be detrimental to plant growth. It can also cause groundwater leaching and runoff, which we don't want. The good news is you don't have to do math. You don't have to figure out how much fertilizer to put down. Your county extension agent will recommend this amount based on your soil test results. Soils also benefit from added organic matter such as peat moss, compost, or well-aged manure. These improve the drainage and water and nutrient holding capacity of your soils as well. These are my references that I used for this presentation. I will link all of those down below. These are excellent publications for beginning gardeners. They contain some really useful information in there. And this is my contact information. If anyone has questions about anything mentioned in this presentation, or if you'd like to get some more information about a soil test, please contact me. Thank you for watching.